I am Abraham Jr. related Dejito, and I am going to report all about our topic in the teaching profession na course. Let's have an energizer. So, do you want an energizer? Okay, let's go. So, the name or the title of our game for today is all about guess the scrambled words. So, I will first read the scrambled words. After I read that scrambled words, I will count to 5 seconds. After I count it, I will reveal that scrambled words, and those words are very essential to what we will report and what we will discuss further on. Alright? Alright, so for the first word, this refers to the branch of philosophy that develops the 20th and 21st centuries, dealing with modern issues, ideas, and methods of thinking about human existence, knowledge, society, and reality. 4, 3, 2, 1. This is the contemporary philosophy. Alright, to carry on, this sees schools as tools to address and solve societal problems, aiming to educate students to identify and correct issues like poverty and racism. 2, 3, 4, 5. This is social reconstructivism. Alright. And next, this focuses on exploration, problem solving, and student developing their own approaches to tasks with the teacher acting as a facilitator. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, this is progressivism. And lastly, it emphasizes individual choice and personal beliefs, empowering students to direct their own learning and define what is meaningful for them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is existentialism. So, are you ready to listen? Alright, so the contemporary teaching philosophies. So specifically, these has 3 parts, which are existentialism, that will be reported by me, Abraham, and Cheria Berenguel. So for our topic, it will be centered all about existentialism. So what is existentialism? So before we start what is existentialism, we have 3 main objectives, which is to learn what is existentialism, what is its importance, and what are its methods of teaching. So, existentialism is founded by Jean Sartre in 1905 to 1980. It focuses on individual freedom, choice, and responsibility in the world, which often sees as meaningless. So instead of relying on external authorities like satuang religion, tradition, or all that stuff, an existentialist thinker, Yang argue that a person must create their own meaning through experience. So, ang kanilang existentialism na siya core idea. So, yang giingon nga, existence precedes essence. Nga nagmean nga ang usa ka tawo is not born with a predetermined purpose. Instead, they define themselves through their actions and decisions. So, I think I am done with my part, and I will let Cheria Berenguel to finish existentialism.
So, let's begin. So, let us define the importance of existentialism and education. So, it emphasizes that students are unique individuals with freedom to make choices, discover personal meaning, and take responsibility for their learning. Instead of just memorizing facts, education inspired by existentialism helps learners to develop self-awareness, independence, and authenticity, preparing them not only for careers but also for living meaningful and responsible lives. So, kanina is ang importance gid ay sa existentialism in education class is that it gives students, kay since student-centered man jud ang pinaka-important way of learning, so it gives students to make their own choices. The teachers give them the freedom ug unsa gid ang ilahang ganahan ug unsa gid in line sa ilahang mga interest. Kay remember class that each student has their personal or naasa unique nga mga perspectives sa life. So instead of kanang nag-rely lang ta sa ug unsay gisulti ni teacher, why not make progress sa ato ang kaugalingon? Why not choose what we want? Kay usa atong gusto, mas naatay reason nganong ganahan ta mo do or mo perform in a certain activities, certain tasks or activities, whether it's mga assignments ba siya karon. So pinaagi day ana niya class nag makahatag ni siya og ganang self-awareness sa ato ang kaugalingon nga mao day ni ang akong ganahan, diri ko maayo, diri ko kamao. So kung diri ko ka mao, so mo ni ang akong i-apply sa ako ang kaugalingon, mo ni siya ang ako ang pilion. It gives us the independence, kay mao man na atong ganahan, so nakuha man to atong self-awareness, kay mao man to atong ganahan, so nagkakita na po tag independence, kay kung naatay self-awareness, independence kay mo mo na mo comes next, kay ganahan man ka aton niya nga butang. So like akong giingon ganiha na kay reason nganong ganahan nimo siyang buhaton, and authenticity. So napoy tay lain katong freedom to choose. So it encourages providing students with options in their education to foster autonomy and self-direction. It also gives personal meaning that highlights the importance of students finding relevance and purpose in what they will learn. And responsibility for learning stresses that students should be active participants in their education, taking ownership of their progress. So kita, as students, kita mo'y naghimo sa ato ang ato na siya iangkunon ba kay kita bang ginaghimo sa ato ang path o unsa gid nga career ang atong ganahan in the future. So mao ni ang gi-highlight gid ni existentialism sa education class. Mao ni ang importance ni existentialism and education. It is beyond memorization. Instead, it advocates for learning that goes beyond rote memorization to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills. I want to share my personal experiences with you, class. So I remember back when I was in high school, I felt lost. I was following the prescribed curriculum, but I didn't feel connected to it. Then I took a philosophy class that introduced me to existentialism. It was a revelation. It made me realize that I had the power to choose my own path, to define my own values, and to create a life that was meaningful to me. Now, let's move on to the methods of teaching existentialism. So we have open discussion and dialogue, where students freely expresses their thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about life and experiences. So naasiyay to look a concept, which is debate, talking chips or Kegan structure, and reporting. And the main point here, class, is that this class is a safe space where you can freely express your thoughts. Kanang muhatag ka sa imo ang mga ideas, kay walay mo judge sa imuha, ang imuhang mga pagtuo about life and even your personal experiences. Like sa ako ang katong giingon ganiha, para sa akong gibuhat ganiha, nihatag ko sa ako ang personal experiences on how I apply the importance of existentialism and education. Because there is no right or wrong answer and everyone's perspective is valuable. So, like I said, na ay 3 ways to promote open discussion and dialogue. So first, debate. So debate involves structured arguments for and against the specific topic. So in debating class, kay naman ay issue nga ihatag. So para sa kong gayon ganiha kung ni stand ba ka ana niya or ni against ka. So it compels students to form their own arguments, research evidence, and defend their stance. So for example, class, I remember class nga atong time kay nag-debate me about kung ang cellphone kay helpful ba siya sa while nag-discuss ang while using cellphone, helpful ba siya nag-discuss ang teacher while using it, or dili ba siya helpful. So ako ang stand ato class kay dili siya helpful, kay nag-discuss man ang maestra, di ba? So kanang upon doing the debate, I realized that debating is not just all about winning the debate. It's all about how you freely express your ideas and thoughts to your fellow students. Nganong mao na imuhang stand, nganong ni against man ka, di ba? So at the end of the day, naa kay napulot sa ilahang stand, asad kay nakuha sa imuha, kay mao man na ang imuhang gitukuan. Sa katong talking chips or the Kegan structure, kay famous kini siya sa among ang child and adolescence class, kay mao man ni among gamiton nga technique para ang mga voices sa amo ang mga classmates kay mabati pud ba, kay namay ubang nga students kay ang ilahang mga ideas kay ilaharang i-keep within themselves. So bati kaayo siya class, kay na ako'y idea, sakto ta to akong idea pero wala na ko siya napagawas kay mauwaw ko. So through Kegan structure, kay imuha ni siyang mapagawas ang imuhang ideas. So dili ako mag-provide og example, kay pero naman namo ni siya buhaton nga hibaw na sa ang mga classmates nako o kung saon ang mga different types sa Kegan structure pag-perform. And reporting. Reporting allows students to share their research and insights with the class. It encourages them to synthesize information from their own interpretation to present their findings in a clear and compelling way. So, pares ako gibuhat karon, nag-report ko about existentialism, nag-research thoroughly ko about sa existentialism, methods of existentialism, and how to apply existentialism in education, and the importance of existentialism, of course. So, ang first method, class, kay katong open discussion and dialogue. So, the second method is Socratic questioning. So, here, the teacher asks a thought-provoking question instead of giving direct answers. Asking deep questions and thought-providing questions. For example, can lying ever be right? So, the core idea of this topic, class, is guiding, not telling. So, the idea is that the teacher acts as a guide, prompting students to explore ideas and come to their own conclusions through carefully crafted questions. So why Socratic questioning? So Socratic questioning implies critical thinking. It encourages critical thinking and problem-solving skills. It helps students develop deeper understanding of the subject matter. It promotes active learning and engagement. It encourages students to discover their own beliefs and values. So here's how it works. So asking deep and thought-provoking questions, the teacher poses questions that challenge the students' assumptions, explore different perspectives, and encourage students to think critically. These questions don't have just straightforward answers. They require you to analyze information, consider different viewpoints, and form your own conclusions. So kani di ay siya nga part class kay dili lang gyud ka nang maghatag kag specific answer. Instead, you need to think critically whether kay it's the right answer or the wrong answer. Kay each answer when it comes to opinion class kay wala gyud siya sayo. So this is what Socratic questioning wants to emphasize, that asking nga kanang dapat gid ba nga kanang maghuna-huna tag tarong before answering, dapat maghuna-huna tag tarong ug unsa gid dapat natong i-answer to that question. Kay ang kana nga question po di ay class wala pud siya naghatag og specific answer, so meaning that question is subjective. For example, sa katong sa slide, can lying ever be right? So this isn't just a question with a simple yes or no answer. It forces you to think about different scenarios, consider the consequences of lying, and weigh it against the other values like honesty and compassion. So here is the summary of existentialism. Existentialist education values individuality and freedom, guiding students to find personal meaning, self-awareness, responsibility in learning and life. So, before closing my discussion class, I want to end my thought with this quotation by Jade Morata. Man is nothing else but what he makes of himself. So, this quote is a very powerful quote that states, we don't come into this world with fixed identity. There's no preset blueprint for who you are. Your identity is not something you discover, but something you create. Through your choices and actions, you shape who you become. So that means everyone sees something in you, but you don't know what it is. Then you have to create yourself.
Good day, everyone. Today, I will be discussing the philosophy of progressivism, a modern educational approach that focuses on learning through experience and real-life application rather than memorization. So, before I start, let me introduce myself first. I am Dejito from BSED-Science 1B. So, today, I will be discussing the philosophy of progressivism. So, progressivism started as an American philosophy which was a reaction against traditional or formal education that focused too much on memorizing facts. It became popular in 20th century, especially after the 1929 economic depression in the USA. So when people realized that education needed to prepare students for real-world challenges. So I have an example here. So before, students kay kung sige sila memorize sa lessons from the books without understanding how to use them. For example, a student might memorize math formulas but not know how to apply them in budgeting or shopping. So progressivism changed this. It teaches students how to think, not what to think. Sabot lang mo guys. Okay na to. So next guys, the meaning of progressivism. So education, according to progressivism, is centered on life itself. It's not just preparation for the future, but about learning to live meaningfully today. So it focuses on the growth and development of the individual, helping learners become more active, responsible, and capable members of society right now. So example, in a progressive classroom, students might plant a garden, learn about science, teamwork, and environmental care. All at once, they learn by doing, not by just reading from a textbooks. So next is the definition. So progressivism is a theory of education concerned with learning by doing. It means that children learn best when they pursue their interests and satisfy their needs through active experience. So progressivists believe people learn better when lessons are relevant to their lives. Teachers act more as guides or facilitators than as strict lectures. The curriculum focuses on students' need, experience, and interest. For example, ang student loves niya music. So progressive teacher kay might use a song to teach language, history, or even math with them. So this approach keeps learning fun and meaningful. For example, karon we are in the modern world. For example, students love to play Roblox. So some games in Roblox have a educational game. So pwede na nato use para mas para mas samtang nagtuon ng isa ka estudyante na nasa sa ikwan, nasa sila lingaw bitaw and meaningful lang pagkuan kay nalingaw pa sila, nakakuan pa sila, naka-gain pa sila knowledge. So, marato next guy, the exponents and of progressivism. So, some of the main contributors to progressivism are si John Dewey, William James, G. Thomas Lawrence, and William Kilpatrick. Pero si John Dewey, ang known as the father of educational psychology. So, he believed that education should prepare people for democracy and real life problem solving. Then, so next guy, ang characteristic sa progressivism. So, natay key characteristic sa para maka-define sa progressive education. So, mali siya ang learning by doing. So, students actively participate in experiments or projects. So, ang example na instead of kanang listening sa lecture about for example, sa mga mga problem on the Philippines like pollution, climate change. So, ang students mo go out na sila, nga mo clean sa ilang community, nga in-record sa findings lab, nag-research na sila. Next ay hands-on project and experimental learning. Nag-learn sila through actual experience. So, example, kanang magka sila mo build sila kanang mga machine sa science class sila kanang just reading about instead kanang mag-read ra kanang about sa mga robot ina na ilagi nag-ilabit og sila hands on sila lag-make para makabalo sila. So next kay ang integrated curriculum. So lessons connect different subjects. So example ani kay project sa healthy living na ma-include po siya ng science which is nutrition, yung math. Ang math so ma-include sa diri kay kami natay diet ba ila i-calculate kung pila ka calories sila intake. And art sa poster making. So next is problem solving and critical thinking. So students think deeply and analyze. Example, mag-debate sila sa kung saan mo solution sa climate change or mag-discuss sila about social issues. Then group work and cooperation, teamwork and communication are emphasized. So example, kanang group research projects where ang tanang members maka-brainstorm sila, maka-contribute ng mga ideas. Then next is the understanding in action. So applying knowledge to real life situations. Example ani kay i-use nila ang usa nila na learn sa first aid. Tama dito ng para mga DRR sa pag high school. First also para maka-help sila sa uban kung na emergency. Then social responsibility and democracy. So ang students daw kay maka-learn to be active responsible citizen. So para example ani kay kana para maging responsible sila sa citizen kay ila sa dikon nakagalingon ila part mag-join sila sa community kana mga tribes nya kana student council para ma-practice silang leadership and kana mag-clean and drive sa mga lugar sa community nila para ma-practice ang civic duty nila. Then, lastly, in summary, ang progressivism education reminds us that true learning happens when students engage. Dili lang ipulo pamina sa lecture, but ma-engage sila, ma-experience sila, mo-try sila ng butang and reflect. And it teaches them not just to memorize lessons, but to live them. Dili lang kayo memorize about inana, but ila jud sila hands-on jud sila mo kanana. Kanang relevant jud sila ipangbuhat para makabalo sila. The next, so ang progressivism ni shape sa mga individual kanang kisa mga curious, thoughtful, and capable sa bitaw mga solving sa real world problems, a value that are essential for a better and more responsible society. So nani-quote diri ni John Dewey. So ang gingon ni John Dewey said here, education is not preparation for life, but education is life itself. Let's continue to learn not only from books but from the world around us. So meaning ani dili lang kita read sa book, but we need to dili lang kay mag-learn ta sa book, but we need to learn kana nakapalibot sa tuwa. So if curious ta abot ang abutang ato na kuanon kung unsa siya, for example magbuhat og robot, curious ta pagbuhat, dapat hands-on ka na para maka-learn ka. Mas maka-learn ka na kung imo buhaton nila kay magtan-aw og mag-read ana. Then that's all Ma'am Dejito, and thank you for listening and goodbye.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Arnel Bataluna Jr. and I'll be discussing the concept of progressivism. Di ba ito ka bas? So, what is the concept of progressivism? So, concept of progressivism is a contemporary reform movement in educational, social, and political affairs. So, Dewey viewed the school as a miniature democratic society in which students could learn and practice the skill and tools necessary for democratic living. So what is miniature democratic society, So miniature democratic society is a small society where people have the right to express their thoughts, feelings, and opinions, and so on. So ang concept of progressivism believed that education should prepare learners to live and function in a democratic world by developing the skills and tools needed for participation and problem solving. So, what are your questions now? Kayo video man ni siya. So, let's proceed. So, next is educational progressivism. So, educational progressivism is the belief that education be based on the principle that humans are like animals who learn best in real life activities with one people. So, ang educational progressivism kuno is the belief that ang kuan kuno people is like animals kuno nga maka-learn through experiences. So muna siya ang belief sa educational progressivism. So the skills and tools of learning include problem-solving methods and scientific inquiry. Learning experience include cooperative behaviors and self-discipline. And schools can transmit the culture of society while it prepares students in the changing world. So in short, ang kining educational progressivism believe that students learn effectively when engaged in real life and hands-on activities or situation. And educational progressivism believe also that cooperation and self-discipline are key in the learning process, and schools should help students adapt to a constantly changing society by providing relevant and meaningful learning experiences. So, philosophy behind progressive education is that progressive education teaches us how to think, not what to think. It values creativity, collaboration, and exploration more than rote memorization. The child is seen as the center of learning, and lessons are built around their interests and experience. So ang kining educational progressivism ay dili lang kani kay mag-discuss lang kanay topic nga gihatag. So ang kining educational progressivism nag-focus sa interest sa bata and silang experiences para mas engaging ang pag-educate sa bata. So next is the aim of education under progressivism. So in this part, ako na lang siya i-summarize and akong gikuha na akong own understanding para i-explain lang na ako, din na lang ako magbasa. So the main goals of progressive education are, first is to develop each student's personality in a democratic environment. And second is to ensure the all-around development of a child, physical, emotional, social, and intellectual. And third, to promote cooperation and social participation. And lastly is to nurture the whole person, preparing learners not just for academic, but for life. So muna siya ang aim of education under progressivism. So next is progressivism and curriculum. In this part also, ako rin siya summarize to make it shorter. So the curriculum under progressivism is, first, must reflect on the child's daily life and environment. And second is the interdisciplinary, combining subjects instead of treating them separately. Third, uses books as tools for learning, not as the sole source of knowledge. So fourth is based on students' interests and real-world problems. So as I say ganiha, ang kining progressivism is nag-focus siya sa experience sa tao and in their interests para mas ma-engage ang ilang pag-educate. And fifth is encourages life experience learning to prepare students for active social participation. And lastly, adapts to the specific needs and context of students. So that's the sixth curriculum under progressivism. So in the curriculum includes, curriculum progressivism includes first the political, because civic educations or rights, responsibilities, government participation, or example, mock elections, and community mapping. And next is moral, or our values and ethical reasoning. So example for this is dilemmas or classroom charters. Okay, so ang next is social. So social skills, teamwork, interpersonal understanding. So for example for this is cooperative projects, conflict resolution, role plays. So next is vocational. So vocational is the career-related skills, real-work competencies, and for example, this is karang internships, skill workshops, like that. So next is intellectual. So intellectual refers here to the critical thinking, reasoning, and academic rigor. So an example for this is inquiry task, or argumentation, or kanang debate. And next is mathematics or general science or language. So these are the core academic content taught in ways that connect to life experiences and other domains. So lastly is the integration of experiences, the K progressive idea. Combine experiences across domain into meaningful projects and reflections. So that are the curriculum of progressivism. Okay? So in summary, progressivism in education promotes learning by doing. It focuses on students' experiences, interests, and growth rather than memorization. It aims to produce responsible, cooperative, and well-rounded individuals who can contribute effectively in a democratic society. And that's all. Thank you.
Hi everyone, good day. I am Halang from BSED-Science 1B. I am tasked to discuss the first topic that we are going to tackle is the progressivism and method of teaching, active and experiential learning. The core idea here is that learning is doing. Do you agree with that? Yes, learning is doing. The methods listed are designed to make the student an active participant rather than a passive receiver of information. So we have the following method of teaching. First is project method, second is socialized method or group work, and we have role play, debates, and inquiry. Are you familiar of those method of teaching? Of course, you already experienced this kind of method of teachings. Project method emphasizes that this method is often interdisciplinary and driven by a student-chosen or collaborative goal. It culminates in a tangible product or presentation. John Dewey is closely associated with this idea of learning by doing. So, the method encourages planning, execution, and evaluation by the students, mirroring real-world problem solving. So next is, let's talk about the socialized method or the group work. It focuses on the development of social efficiency and democratic values. Learning isn't just an individual pursuit, it's a societal one. So these methods help students learn to cooperate, negotiate, compromise, and lead, which are essential skills for citizenship in a democracy. And then we have the role play, debates, and inquiry. These are methods that value contribute to a changing world. So I hope you learned something, and that could be all for today. Thank you for watching and listening, everyone. Again, I am Halang from BSED-Science 1B. Bye!
So good morning everyone, I am Shawncey M and I will be here to discuss or introduce social reconstructionism. So social reconstructionism is an educational philosophy that uses education to address social questions and create a better society and worldwide democracy. In other words, social reconstructionism means that school is the workshop for fixing the world. Instead of just preparing kids for the world as it is today, this philosophy says that education should teach them how to identify the biggest problems in our society. Also, this philosophy was founded by Theodore Bramell. He was an American philosopher who very much supported the philosophy of social reconstructionism. Okay, so let's move on to the background of social reconstructionism. First, we have it started when people realized schools could help solve real-world problems like poverty and injustices. In simpler terms, educators and thinkers thought that why are we preparing kids to be in this messed up world? Instead, let's use school to teach them how to change it. So the phrase I have given was a focus on action and social responsibility over just memorizing facts. Okay, so the second one, we have the timeline. It began, or social reconstructionism began in the 1930s to the 1940s. It began during times of social and economic crisis. Yeah, so in simpler terms, this isn't a coincidence. This philosophy isn't a coincidence. This philosophy gained traction during and after the biggest crisis like World War II. It was a time when the old ways seemed broken and people were searching for a bold new vision for society, starting with the new generation. Okay, so the last background is it was developed to make education a tool for social change. Now, this is the core idea of social reconstructionism. The goal isn't just to produce well-read individuals, but to create citizen changers. Okay, so instead of just studying history, students are encouraged to analyze its injustices and propose solutions for today. Okay, so that would be all for my part. So the next reporter would be Jade Morata to discuss more about social reconstructionism. Thank you.
So good afternoon everyone, my name is Jade Morata. Today I will give to you a summary and a simplification of social reconstructionism. So, this philosophy focuses on social problems. Social reconstructionist believes that education should focus on addressing social problems such as poverty, inequality, and discrimination. So, to simplify, ganito siya nga philosophy not only focuses on basic education such as reading, writing, arithmetic, wala rin na siya nag-focus na class. Ang kani siya nga philosophy kay much more on helping the student find solution and be aware of social problems. Like for instance, na ay poverty. Of course, as a teacher, ang role nimo as a teacher is not only teach them what poverty is. Like, moana lang ka nga, ang poverty day class, kay kani, mauna. No, ang kani siya nga philosophy emphasizes that a teacher should help the student understand and encourage the students to find solution to that problem. Kanang, ma-enlighten bito ang students nga, mao din ni siya poverty, and makapangita siya og way kung unsaon pag-solve ang poverty. So, ang pinaka-best example jud ani niya, like recently lang jud siya nga nahitabo kay katong pag magnitude 6.9 earthquake diri sa Cebu, na ay student sa CTU nga naghimo siya og webpage nga malocate nimo ang mga affected areas. Nga makatabang siya sa mga nag-volunteers para mag-give nila ang mga relief good donations nga dili na nila need mangita og asa dapit og unsaon pag-adto. Kato siya nga kato siya ay very best example sa social reconstructionism, helping the student find solution to problems. Help students find solution to social problems pag yun di ay. So, very understandable raman sad siguro kung unsa ang social reconstructionism as what I have said and as what I'll have said. I hope guys na you learned something from our discussion, and we encourage everyone to take notes and share your knowledge and share your thoughts about our reportings in the comment below. Thank you.